Welcome, friends. Friends, let us start with the discussion with a new chapter altogether, residential status and the scope of total income. Friends, to an extent, hardcore basics of scope of total income I've already explained to you before, but now in this particular chapter we will have the opportunity to discuss both the topics, residential status and the scope, into much more greater depth. Before I, friends, go ahead, let me tell you that while explaining this particular chapter, I will also make use of some Barrett provisions. But you, as a students, not very much required to refer to the Barrett. The reason being that academically it's going to be then very laborious and very lengthy. But I will make use for your hardcore explanation. However, if you are a student, you are studying this particular topic at a very high level like international taxation and all that, then Barrett is very important for you. So you must refer the Barrett in that situation. However, from the assessment year 21, 22 and onwards, I repeat, from the assessment year 21 and 22 onwards, this particular chapter of residential status has become very important. Reason being that there is a significant amendments. I repeat, there are significant amendments in the topic of residential status from the assessment year 21, 22 and onwards, and significant conceptual changes have been brought into by the lawmakers. So this chapter is very important in that regards. Now, friends, before I go ahead, let me tell you that very basic overview. First of all, see, just like we know that there is a different persons like individual, HUF, company, partnership firms, etc. So every assessee and every person will have a residential status. It is a must. So without a residential status, you cannot proceed in this particular act, because your ultimate taxation will depend on the residential status. Okay. So first of all, every person's residential status provisions are different. Okay. So right now I am beginning to discuss the provisions relating to individuals. Okay. So, and in fact, the more difficulty is in provisions relating to individuals to determine the residential status. Other ones are pretty simple and manageable. I mean, not a greater discussion which is required. Right now, residential status of an individual. Okay. Now, in this particular chapter, residential status, the most important thing is stay in India. Okay. The entire discussion of residential status of an individual is dependent on, I repeat, it is dependent on his number of days stay in India. In fact, we have to do some working here. I repeat, we have to do some working here. Now, for example, if you take my own example, so my year starts from 1st of April to 31st of March. Okay. During this, how many number of days I was inside India? This is the beginning point. Okay. So you will say April, May, June, like this you have to do the working, if at all. I mean, this is the beginning point. Okay. So April, I was 30 days. It is a 30 days month. I was in India. May, I was 31 days in India. Like this, every month I'll have to take the total. And this is my number of days during the year stay in India. I will get this particular number. Okay. I will get this particular number. And based on this particular number, I repeat, based on this particular number, I will have to keep on applying the provisions and get the answer. So, I mean, I just want you all guys to imagine that your residential status of an individual is dependent on his number of days stay in India. This number of days stay in India is basically actual physical stay in India. So you may be saying that, oh, for 1 month I was in one state, another month I was in another state, then I traveled from this state to that state. It doesn't matter. As long as you are inside India. Physical stay in India. That is one of the beginning point of this particular topic. Okay. Now, further, moment you say that you are stay in India, see, now we already know that previous year concept, we already know that is 14231.3. After the previous year, it is an assessment year. The first is the previous year, that is actual year in which you earn the income. Thereafter, you do the procedures, and the procedure of filing return and all that is done in the assessment year. So we already know this concept of previous year and assessment year. So this is our timeline actually, okay, for the sake of explanation. Okay. Now, before the previous year, I will just call it as a before year. Okay. I will just call it as a before year for the sake of explanation. Okay. So before year 1, before year 2, before year 3, before year 4, and so on. Okay. So now your number of days stay in India, say for example, for the previous year, say for example, X number of days, let me say 365 days you are inside India. Okay. So this is the beginning point of starting to understanding that residential status in India, outside India, and all that kind of situation. Okay. So whether you are resident, non-resident, and all that kind of situation. Okay. So previous year 365 days example. Similarly, your earlier years, also your number of days stay. So your number of days stay in India, not only of the previous year, but even of the preceding years. This I will just call it as a preceding previous years. Okay. They will also come in some calculation somewhere to decide your residential status, whether you are resident or non-resident. Okay. Now, your number of days stay of assessment year or subsequent years are nowhere relevant. They are nowhere relevant. So, first of all, friends, you remember one thing very carefully, that your residential status, listen very carefully, should be calculated with respect to always the previous year. And for the relevant previous year, there will be a relevant assessment year. There is no doubt about that. But you have to think like that, because some questions will confuse you. You know, some questions will tell you that calculate his residential status for the given assessment year. Like this also some questions will tell you. So questions, they can ask you anything. But moment if question tell you that for the given assessment year, so you have to start thinking like that, that for the given assessment year, what is a previous year, that is your preceding year, and for the previous year you are going to do all the calculations, and you are going to get the amount of number of days stay, and based on the working you will decide whether you are resident, non-resident, and all that kind of situation. Okay. Further, individual is a type of person who can have 3 residential status. We call it as resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident, or a non-resident. Okay. 3 residential status are possible based on the provisions, of course, which I will explain, no doubt about that. Okay. So this is possible for an individual. Okay. Listen very carefully, because right now we are discussing only individual residential status. Secondly, in relation to the HUFs, right now we are going to discuss only individual, but I am just telling you the macro overview. In relation to the HUF also, there is 3 probable residential status, that is resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident, or non-resident. Okay. However, for the other category of the person, for example, companies, firms, AOP, etc., for the other category of the persons, you will have either resident or you will have non-resident. Okay. This is going to be your broader structure in which your provisions are going to operate. I repeat, baby, I repeat. For individuals or HUFs, there is a possibility of 3 resident, either of the one. That means one of the 3, of course. You cannot have all 3 residential status. So it will be resident and ordinary resident, or not ordinarily resident, or a non-resident. Okay. This is possible for individual or HUF, either of the 3. And for any other type of the persons, you can have either of the two residential status, that is resident or non-resident. Okay. And based on this, there'll be a scope of taxation, or it is also called as incidence of tax, which will be the following chapter. However, the basic overview of your incidence of tax, I already explained it to you before. Okay. Now, let me again straight away go and in detail focus only on the individuals. Okay. Now, little bit extra attention, because hardcore basics, residential status of an individual. Okay. The individual can be resident, first of all, listen very carefully, or he can be a non-resident. Understand this very, very carefully. Hardcore basics. Okay. An individual can be resident or non-resident. The resident, based on number of days stay, is defined under section 6.1 or under section 6.1a. I've already told you that these particular provisions of residential status from the assessment year, I repeat that from the assessment year 21-22 has undergone amendment, and therefore becomes very important from examination point of view also, and practical point of view also, because your entire taxation depends on that. Okay. I repeat, the individual can be resident or non-resident. First of all, this is how your thinking process should start. The resident is defined under section 6.1 or 6.1a. Okay. Now, if you satisfy the conditions of being resident, then you are resident. Okay. Otherwise, you will become non-resident. I repeat, otherwise you will become non-resident. In other words, under the law, I repeat, under the law, there is no definition or there is no provisions. I repeat, under the law, there is no definition or there is no provisions to prove or to show or to identify that you are a non-resident. So it's like that, the people who are resident, others are going to be non-resident. Have you understood that very, very carefully? Is that absolutely clear? Okay. Now, 1 second, as I already told you, I will make use of some Barrett provision for explanation purpose. See, this is section 6. Of course, I will not go into the details right now, because right now I only want you all guys to have that, that overview, the bird eye view. I just want you all guys to have. Okay. Now listen very carefully. See, this is your section 6. An individual, so these are the provisions for individual. This is what discussing. Is said to be resident in India. Is said to be resident in India if either of these conditions are satisfied. So you can say that section 6.1a or 6.1c, section number wise. Okay. If these conditions are satisfied, then you will become a resident in India. So there is a definition which is provided for being a resident, subject to conditions, of course. I will tell you the conditions in just some time to go. And if you satisfy these 6.1a, 6.1b, or if you satisfy these conditions, this 6.1a, the individual will be resident, like this. Okay. So what I'm just trying to tell you is, because there is a amendment from assessment year 21-22 and onwards, I want you guys to be very smart in this particular chapter. Okay. So I come back to my particular basic notes. Okay. So under section 6, there are some conditions, definitions, like these situations are provided for being a resident. Okay. If you satisfy them, then you are going to be resident. Okay. Other people is going to be non-resident. Okay. Now, if you are a resident, so I will leave some space here for writing the conditions. Okay. Because I have to explain those conditions also. I will leave some space here. Okay. For writing those conditions. Okay. Now, if you are already resident, if you are already resident, okay, then there is a possibility of resident and ordinarily resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. I repeat, if you are a resident, if you are a resident person, then there is a possibility of either you are a resident and ordinarily resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. Is that clear? Okay. Now, supposing if you are already a non-resident, listen very carefully. Supposing if you are already a non-resident, then there is no further test. There is no further test. Okay. So, if you are a non-resident, then it is proved that you are a non-resident. Finish. Okay. But if you are a resident and if you satisfy those conditions, then you can have either of these two situations. Okay. Now, resident but not ordinarily resident is defined under section 6(6) of the Income Tax Act. So there is a law which tells you that if you satisfy these conditions, then you will become resident but not ordinarily resident. Okay. See this 1 second. See. And I've already told you, friends, that unless you are studying at some very high level of international taxation, there is no need for you to refer to the Bar Act. This Bar Act is only for my explanation purpose. Okay. Now see, section 6(6) says that a person is said to be a not ordinarily resident. A person is said to be non-ordinarily resident if you satisfy either of these blah 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 conditions. So section 6(6) basically defines, this is how I am just trying to tell you, section 6(6) basically defines that if you satisfy these blah 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 conditions which are going to come, then you will become not ordinarily resident. Okay. So same thing I am writing here, that you have to satisfy the conditions here. Okay. So I can make one box here. Okay. This will be the box of conditions. Of course, this box will not be sufficient for me to write the conditions here, but I'm just drawing it for the sake of brevity. Okay. Now, all other people will be resident and ordinarily resident. Is that absolutely clear? In other words, for becoming resident and ordinarily resident, okay, as such there is no specific provision, but no specific things. Okay. So, if you are not ordinarily resident, that's okay. Okay. But supposing if you are already resident by the definition and you are not ordinarily resident, then you will become ordinarily resident. Is that absolutely clear? Okay. Now, you have to understand first of all the conditions of section 6(1). Okay. And you have to understand these conditions. If you understand these conditions, then the whole chapter will become very, very easy for you. Is that absolutely clear? Now let me tell you the basic conditions very, very precisely. Okay. Now first of all, let us focus on section 6(1) and section 6(1)(a). Now, number of days stay in India during the previous year. I repeat, number of days stay in India during the previous year. Okay. If it is greater than or equal to 182 days, if it is equal to or greater than or equal to 182 days, then you will be regarded as resident. You have to satisfy this particular condition. So you have to see that your total number of days stay in India is how many. In the month of April, how much you stay. In the month of May, like this entire year total you have to take, and you have to find out number of days stay in the previous year. Okay. Now, this is one of the condition. I will call it as A. Okay. Just look at this very carefully, because I'm just going into some little bit of extra depth for your better understanding. Okay. Every time I will not repeat this. Okay. See, 6(1)(a). Okay. Section 6 for individual said to be resident A. If in the previous year he is in India for the period amounting in all, that means total number of days stay in India is 182 days or more. So we call it as greater than or equal to 182 days. This A is the condition. Is that absolutely clear? I call it as 6(1)(a). Okay. Now, or, look at this or. This is very important because in this particular chapter, this or and all these kind of situations, students will cry, if you not pay proper attention right now, then you will say, oh, we are not understanding. Pay very, very proper attention. This is or, okay. So you satisfy 6(1)(a), or B is already deleted, so C, A or 6(1)(c), okay. So see how I am developing, A or C. In between I will write or. Have you understood that? So first condition, number of days stay in India during the previous year is greater than or equal to 182 days or 6(1)(c), okay. Number of days stay, now I will write in the shortcut, stay in India during the previous year, okay, should be greater than or equal to 60 days, okay. And now look at this and, okay, 4 years preceding the previous year. Look at this change in words. 4 years preceding the previous year. That means 4 years before the previous year, okay, should be greater than or equal to 365 days. So inside the condition C, it is and, okay. So stay in India during the previous year is greater than or equal to 60 days and 4 years preceding the previous year, that means 4 years before the previous year, is more than or equal to 365 days. If you satisfy this, you will become resident, because all the discussion that we are doing right now is to become a resident person, okay. Come to this particular provisions, okay. I want you guys to slowly pay more and more attention in the introduction class, because later on, every time I'm not going to repeat this, okay. So now see 6(1)(c), okay. Within 4 years preceding that year, that means preceding the previous year, preceding that year, that means in my time sequence, previous year, after the previous year, assessment year comes. So number of days of assessment is not relevant here. It is preceding that year. That means before year 1, before year 2, before year 3, before year 4. Okay. So total of B1 plus B2 plus B3 plus B4. Have you understood that? So before the year, before the previous year, immediately before. Okay. 4 years. Okay. In India, for a periods amounting in all means total 365 days or more. 365 days or more. Okay. So that is the condition. Comma. And he is in India for a period or periods amounting in all to 60 days or more in that year. So together with that, there is extra condition. 4 years preceding previous year, 365 days, and in that year, that means in previous year, because all this calculation we are doing it with respect to the previous year, is 60 days or more in that particular year, then you will be regarded as resident. Okay. Now, this is 6(1)(c). Okay. This is section 6(1)(c). Okay. Now, friends, let me tell you that some of the textbooks or some of the authors, they will not use these section numbers. They will not use the section numbers. However, it is not very much relevant also. So I'm not offended by that. But some students who may refer to some textbooks or some institute material, then you may find that, oh, in some of the textbooks, they will write, that condition A or condition B. Like this, they will write. But section number is C. Okay. Section number is C, but sometimes for the sake of simplicity, they will write A or B. Okay. So I will just follow the section number for my classes. Okay. So I will just say A or C. Okay. This is 6(1)(a) or 61C. Have you understood that very carefully? Okay. For some textbooks, they will write A or B. That way they will write, whichever way you understand. Is that absolutely clear? So this is your number of days stay. Okay. You will become resident in India. Okay. Further, this is a hardcore basic condition. Okay. Further, now let me change the ink color. Okay. There is an explanation to this. Okay. Now, the explanation says, listen very carefully. The explanation says that in certain situations, pay maximum attention, because here people do a lot of silly mistake. That's the reason I'm spending little bit of more time in basic explanation. I will not repeat this basic explanation again and again. Okay. In some of the situations, listen very carefully. These 60 days in the formula now, instead of that 60 days, we will take it as 182 days, or in some situations, we will take 120 days. I repeat, in some of the situations, I'll tell you those situations, that in 61C, that means for these 60 days, instead of 60 days, we will take it as 182 days in the calculation, or we will take 120 days, and all these days is number of days stay in the previous year. Okay. So this is how we have to understand this. Okay. And those situations, I want you all guys to just understand broadly. In detail also, I'm going to discuss a lot of things in this particular chapter, because as I already told you that this chapter is amended from the assessment year 21-22 and onwards. Okay. These situations, understand this. Okay. Here it is, these 60 days. Okay. Now see this explanation. Okay. The citizen of India. Now, for example, I am a citizen of India. Okay. If I go outside India as a crew member in the Indian ship, or if I go outside India for the employment outside India, if I am going outside India, listen very carefully. So supposing I got a job in Dubai, and now I'm leaving the country today. Okay. And I'm going to Dubai. So I am citizen of India. That is one thing. Okay. And I'm going outside India for the purpose of employment outside India, or as a crew member of the ship. Okay. In that case, these 60 days has to be substituted with 182 days. So instead of these 60 days, I will have to apply 182 days. That way condition will remain the same. But for calculation purpose, instead of 60 days, I'll have to make it as 182 days. Okay. So that is one of the explanation. Okay. The second explanation. If I am a citizen of India, or I am a person of Indian origin, now it is two separate category of persons. Citizen of India is persons who are holding citizenship. Persons of Indian origin, where either of the parents or the grandparents are born in undivided India. They are basically persons of Indian origin. So under explanation B, there are two types of persons covered: citizens of India or the persons of Indian origin. Okay. Now they are outside India. So they are already outside India. Now they are coming to India for a visit. Now, for example, my uncle, who is already staying in Hong Kong since past many years. Okay. And my uncle is already person of Indian origin. And now my uncle comes to India to visit friends, family and all that. Okay. So now second situation is that a person who is citizen of India, or a person who is a person of Indian origin, comes to India, okay, for a visit to India, and who is normally outside India. He comes for a visit to India. In that case, instead of 60 days, again 182 days will be considered. Okay. So second situation also, instead of 60 days, 182 days will be substituted. Now this is a situation where citizen of India or a person of Indian origin who is normally outside India comes to India for a visit. Now they can come for any visit. Okay, it can be their official visit, or it can be their personal visit to meet family, friends, for whatever reason. Here, actual physical number of days stay in India is something what is very important. Okay, so that is one situation. Now let me erase this and tell you that now the next situation is mark it as very important, because it is a amendment from the assessment year 21-22 and onwards. Okay, now see this. Okay, further, and so now from here onwards another condition is coming. Okay, and in case of citizen of India or a person of Indian origin, and citizen of India or a person of Indian origin having a total income other than income from foreign source, so I will logically call it as an Indian income. I repeat, citizen of India or a person of Indian origin having a total income other than income from foreign source exceeding 15 lakh rupees, exceeding 15 lakh rupees, exceeding 15 lakhs rupees during the previous year. Okay, then instead of 60 days, 120 days, I repeat, 120 days will be substituted. Okay, so those people who are citizens or persons of Indian origin with your Indian incomes exceeding 15 lakhs, then for those type people, instead of these 60 days, we will have to consider it as 120 days. Is that absolutely clear? So these are different situations. Okay. Now, this is already done. Now, there is also amendment that what do you mean by this particular phrase? See, I told you, Indian income, foreign income. I mean, these are very common words which are used under the law. But this language, having a total income other than income from foreign source. Total income other than income from foreign source. Okay. This particular language, it is already explained in form of an explanation. Again, mark this particular point as very important. Okay. Income from foreign source means the income which accrues or arise outside India, income which is accrued or arising outside India, except, I repeat, except the income which is derived from a business controlled or a profession set up in India. Beautiful. And this point that income from foreign source, and the use of this particular explanation can also go a long way in terms of questions in the examination condition. Okay, so we have to do something like that. See, you have to calculate income something like foreign income, Indian income. Okay, listen very carefully. From the foreign income, we have to do this exception, excluding business which is controlled from India. That you have to exclude it because it is your foreign source. Okay, so this is your foreign source. Okay, and for the purpose of this particular working, you will have Indian income plus business control from India, whatever the income is. This is your income from foreign source. Okay, now I'll come back to that particular language and mark it as very important. In fact, even in my simple notes also, I've already given you that particular thing. Total income other than income from foreign source. That means logically Indian income. Is that clear? Now this particular working you have to show that it is exceeding this particular amount of 15 lakhs, and then you have to apply this particular condition. Otherwise you cannot apply this particular condition. Okay. Now see this box. These are the conditions with respect to resident. In detail I will discuss step by step. If you satisfy this condition, then you become resident. Otherwise you will become non-resident. Okay. Now if you are already resident, listen very carefully. Now supposing if you are already resident, then you have to know the other conditions. Okay. These conditions I will discuss little later. Okay. So these conditions I will not discuss immediately right now, but I will discuss it little later. Okay. Now if you satisfy these particular conditions, suppose if you satisfy, then you will become resident and not ordinarily resident. Otherwise you will become resident and ordinarily resident. Okay. Now all these things, friends, which I have already explained that to you, listen very carefully. I have also given it to you in our simplified notes. Okay. So these notes which I have already given it to you, see here I have already converted the entire provision into one simple table like situation, which we can use it even for answering, and wherever some extra ifs and buts are there, if at all it comes, that we will discuss it separately. Okay. Now I'm just explaining this particular boxes how I have already developed with this particular explanation. Okay. And this particular method we will use it in most of the situation for the answering in the examination condition. Okay. See 61A condition I have written. I have already created the box. Okay. So here I will write the actual number of days. Okay. Then 61C condition, 60 days condition. Okay. However, different situations, instead of 60 days, we will use 182, 182 or 120 days. Okay. That is your substitution of 60 days. Okay. And here it is and. See and. These or and no, you better pay maximum attention, because this is the place where students do mamma mia lot of mistakes, and I don't want my students to do this lot of mistakes. All right. So this or and you better be very careful. Okay. So this is your hardcore beginning to decide whether you are resident or non-resident. Then extra conditions are there that I will discuss afterwards. Okay. And this is the explanation for that particular foreign income and all that, which I have just copied from the provisions and given it to you in this particular material. Okay. Further, friends, see this is one of the page that I have already given you as a standard format, friends. And just for the sake of understanding, because a lot of data we have to accumulate and then only you have to take the decision. So it's not like a simple calculation. We have to take these data and all that kind of situation. Okay. So stay in India during the previous year. Some of the questions will give you that in April how much, in May how much number of days, and this is a total number of days stay that you have to take. Now in the bracket I have already written here 30, 31, because some students do this mistake also, because some of the months are of 30 days, some of the months are of 31 days. So all those situations also will come to you in examination condition. They will say that he come to India on 25th of September. Like this, and then he go outside India on this particular date. So that date to date also working sometimes you have to do, and that's the reason I have given you this month particular chart. Okay, for the sake of simplicity. Now you will get this previous year. Okay, in the timeline, number of days stay in the previous year. After that is the assessment year, but that is not relevant. Significant number of days stay from calculation point of view. Okay. But of course, for the previous year, that will be the assessment year. Now it is before year 1, before year 2, etc. Okay, analysis. So this is my before year 1, before year 2. Okay. So last 4 years total is required. Okay, so that I will take. Then in some of the situations, I will require last 7 years total and some other analysis. So something I have still not discussed, but I will make this particular table. Okay, so before year, before year, before year, this whatever is the previous year number of days stay I will write here. This is a previous year and this is before year. Is that okay? And these total figures I will require for some analysis purpose, and that I will do it wherever it is required. Is that clear? Secondly, friends, this Indian income, foreign income, one scope of total income also, which I have already, in fact, I have already explained that to you. But this is also one of the page where I have given you that entire scope of taxability. And here, see, in fact, I have already explained this to you, but this is a repetition. Any income which is accrued or received inside India, or deemed to be accrued or deemed to be received inside India, is taxable for everyone. So whatever is your residential status, resident, ordinary resident, not ordinary resident, or non-resident, whatever is the status, it's taxable for everyone. Okay. When it comes to the income accrued outside India, that means a foreign income. Okay, the foreign income is taxable for resident and ordinarily resident, but for the others, it is not taxable. That means not ordinarily resident and non-resident is not taxable for the foreign incomes in India. However, there will be the only one exception, and the exception is the income which is accrued outside India, but the business is controlled from inside India. That means it is a foreign income logically, but the control of that particular business is inside India. And that's the reason I put this particular situation into the foreign income category. Okay. And that case, resident but not ordinarily resident will be taxable. And ordinarily resident is anyway taxable for the global income, so no further discussion. But not ordinary resident is taxable, but non-resident is not taxable for this. And this is the main point everywhere the students confuses for the purpose of taxability in calculation and everywhere. So mark this particular point also is very, very important. However, if there is any transfer of funds, mere transfer of funds, like for example, I send money to you or you send money to me, it's only a transaction of transferring funds. Okay. That is not an income in any situation. So mere transfer of money from one account to the another account, a mere transaction of money where there is no income expenditure element involved, such a situation is not a income at all, and therefore it cannot have any taxability under the law. That is one of the point. Okay. The second point, if the income is already accrued and it is already taxed on an accrual basis, again it shall not be taxed on a receipt basis. So supposing if income is already taxed in my hands on accrual basis, then again when I receive that particular income, again you will tax it. No, the same income cannot be doubly taxed. So there is always non-double taxation, which always has to be kept in mind as a fundamental logic. Okay. And second thing, if there is any entry in books of accounts in India, if there is any entry which is in the books of accounts in India, okay, the book entry transactions will not be regarded as a receipt of income per se. A very basic clarification that merely because you have recorded some transactions in the books of accounts in India, that does not mean that it is received in India. Okay, so that is one of the two clarifications extra is a scope of total income, which should be kept in mind in your back memory. Okay. Now friends, this page. Okay. So this is basically a format. Okay. So this format I will use it for the purpose of answering all the questions as and when it already comes. I will also use this particular format wherever it is appropriate. Okay. So if the questions give me all this data, where some questions may not give all this data, and accordingly I will give this particular answer. So these formats like format of month and format of year calculation and this particular table, I will oftenly use it for deciding whether it is resident or non-resident.